Welcome, everybody. I'm Marc David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. Here we are in the Psychology of Eating podcast, and today I'm with Craig. Welcome, Craig.
Hi, Mark.
I'm glad we're doing this. I'm glad we're here together. And my first question for you, if you could wave your magic wand and get whatever you wanted to get from this session, have your ultimate goal, what would that look like for you?
From this session, I think some more strategies on how to manage digestive system like symptoms. So I've tried a lot of different elimination diets and different strategies that I've seen you mention before, but I still can't really figure out some of the causes. And so I'll just have symptoms like randomly. And I think one of the biggest things is being able to better decipher what causes it. So when I'm out, I can know, like I can choose whether I want to experience symptoms at the cost of like eating a certain thing or doing a certain thing, or I can choose not to.
Got it. So when you say digestive symptoms, what kind of digestive symptoms might they be? What do they look like? What do they feel like? How would you describe them?
Yeah, so for a lot of years, so I've had this going on for about 15 years. So for a long time, it was mainly constipation and irregularity. I would say now it's more, I've been taking magnesium citrate, which helps a lot with that, but it's more like bloating, and it feels like my intestines are almost swollen, and like tight pressure. Sometimes nausea. I've had acid reflux the whole time, and that hasn't really gone away. And I've been managing it with medication just because I don't know, all the times I've tried to wean myself off it like gets a lot worse. So.
Sure. So you said you've been experiencing this for 15 years. So how old were you when it first started?
Gosh, around 13. Yeah.
You were 13. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What was going on at age 13?
Well, I actually had an eating disorder when I was like 13, 14. And what I can't remember, and I've tried to figure this out, is if the digestive issues started before or after or during. But I believe I've always had them. I think I just started noticing it more afterwards because there were other parts that were emerging like after I had recovered from the eating disorder.
Can you tell me what kind of eating disorder you had?
Yes, anorexia.
Okay. Were you ever bulimic?
No.
And what do you think, just for me out of interest's sake, how did you transform anorexia?
Gosh, a lot of years and a lot of practice. And right afterwards, I mean, I was really young. I was in like 8th grade or 7th grade. And so when it was happening, I kind of didn't really know what was going on. It was a really dark time. And then for several years after, I didn't really talk about it or try to transform because I was physically at a healthy weight and people weren't like probing me anymore. And I had been like under a magnifying glass for a long time. And so I really just kept quiet about it. I've always loved exercise, and there are a lot of things like I felt like I couldn't do any of that because I had been told not to by doctors and family members. And then after I graduated high school is when I really started kind of digging deeper into that. And really, I just started talking about my journey. Kind of the most helpful thing has been realizing like what leads to certain thoughts, and then either putting boundaries around some of the things that are leading to it, or being able to capture the thought and like figure out what my action is after the thought and then kind of reframe that. So it's been a lot of thought work, a lot of embodiment, and figuring out exercise that I really like, that's honoring to me and that gets me like back into my body. So
Sure, sure. That's
yeah.
great. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, on a successful journey in that regards. You know, I'm going to ask you personal questions. Please feel free to not answer them if they don't feel comfortable for you. So, you know, you describe that time in your life when the eating disorder first started. You know, it was a dark time.
Mhm.
Can you say more about what was happening for you?
Um, so what do you mean? Like in my family, at school, my
Yeah,
thoughts?
what made it a dark time? What was going on at home with parents? What was going on in your personal social life?
Yeah. Well, I think the age, I was really vulnerable and naturally seeking approval from other people as a young teenager. I think what I meant mostly by that is um, the kind of the inner world I was living in. So that was dark because I'm a person who really, really values honesty. And for several years in my life, I was being dishonest in the name of this eating disorder that had kind of taken over my brain and perception of everything. So, for instance, dishonest, I just mean like my family would ask me what I had to eat at certain times. And for a long time, I felt like I had to lie in order to continue the cycle of it. And so it was just lonely because I didn't really have anyone I could talk to, because if I did, then I felt like I would get more spotlight, and I was already having so much attention and having to leave class to go to weekly weigh-ins, and it was kind of embarrassing because people knew. And so I just mean it was dark because I felt like, and I know you've mentioned some in some of the modules, how your body starts to, or the body of a person who's starving starts to like give it a high um, and kind of make life comfortable, and like you don't have an appetite anymore. So that all happened to me. And it was hard because I knew objectively that I needed to be eating, but it like physically made me feel sick. And my brain and my body were like, no, but another part of me and people who I loved and trusted were trying to like help me through that. So I think there was just a lot of dissonance in my life.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
So, how's your relationship with your parents these days?
Good. Yeah. My parents got divorced when I was an infant, and then they both remarried other people, not each other, when I was 3 and 4. And so I've had like 4 parents for most of my life. Growing up, I was with my mom and stepdad a lot more, but I had a very regular schedule with my dad and stepmom. And since I've gotten older, I've gotten closer um, with all of them, and just in the way that you kind of, a lot of people do when you become an adult, like understanding your parents and their perspective a little better and being able to relate. So, yeah.
What's your biggest regret, if you even have any, about that time in your life? Like if you look back to the time when you were 13-ish and going through an eating disorder, like what do you wish you can sort of go back and change?
Hmm. Yeah. I think I just don't remember a lot. And that's hard because I don't know, things will come up. So I've recently interviewed my mom about this specific thing because I'm planning to write a book on it and interview multiple people who I've known who have gone through this, to serve as kind of like a resource for people who have loved ones dealing with an eating disorder. Because I think just in the general population, there's not a ton of resources to understand like the mind and the thoughts that are going on in this person's daily life. And so I understand that everyone did what they did because they loved me, but like they didn't really know at all what was going on in my mind. And I've heard that from people too. And so I interviewed my mom and one of my best friends. We just were talking. And as I was talking with him, things came back up, but they weren't things that I was able, because I wrote out the food and body autobiography when I started the course. And that kind of provoked me to want to write the book, because I had always kind of had it in my mind, like I wanted to do it. But then I was writing, it's like, oh, there's something of substance here. So I guess my biggest regret is not really remembering anything. And like, I think everything I've had to deal with since then in the daily work I've had to do in that realm has been really hard, but I don't know that I could have changed it. And I think a lot of good has come from it. And I'm more inspired to help other people who are going through it, or who have gone through it, but haven't necessarily done the thought work that it requires afterwards.
Sure. What's your profession? What's your education?
So in school, I was trained to be a dietitian. And I may have told you this, but I didn't pursue dietetics in terms of the outpatient counseling for a while, because I didn't love the black and white nature of things. And there wasn't so much the psychology aspect of digging deeper. So when I was in late high school, I wanted to do psychology because I wanted to counsel people with eating disorders, because the people who had counseled me when I was a teenager, it wasn't helpful. And it was just kind of like weight recovery. Like they would say, eat a huge thing of ice cream with candy bars. And even when I was in that state of like being sick, I knew, I was like, that doesn't make any sense, because that would just swing to the opposite pendulum. And a person whose mind is kind of attacking them is not really going to go for that idea. So anyway, I just didn't love the support that I got from like health practitioners, and wanted to give back in that way. But instead of doing psychology, I did nutrition and liked it, but there was a lot that I thought was lacking. And then now I feel a lot more equipped through taking your training to combine the health and wellness and nutrition part with the psychology. Because that's what I've always believed. I just have never heard anyone talking about it until you.
Yeah, well, there's not a lot of people talking about it. So more of us need to talk about it.
Yeah.
And here we are talking about it. So when is your digestion best? Are there times when you go, wow, a day or two, or even more here or there? It could be completely random where you noticed, oh man, that feels pretty good.
Yeah. So I've noticed if I don't eat like very big meals, and I don't eat, like if I eat my last meal relatively early, I noticed this a while ago, and I haven't really been doing this exact thing recently, but if I go to bed like kind of hungry, I'm not as like my stomach isn't as upset in the morning. I don't usually eat really late anyway, but I'm meaning like not having very much food at night. Kind of caught, like for instance, last night this happened. I ate kind of early and then went to bed later. And then this morning my stomach wasn't like bloated and tight and really uncomfortable. That's just something I've noticed happens. And
But have there been times when just a random few days or a random week here or there where you noticed that regardless of anything else, things just felt better, even though there wasn't necessarily any reason for it? And that might not be the case. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I've noticed times in the past when I would be working from home for several weeks, or if I was studying for my dietetics exam, I wasn't going to a physical office, and I felt a lot better. Like I felt like I was going to the bathroom more regularly. I wasn't like, my body was kind of on more of a schedule. And I didn't have as much pain. And I think part of it is that it's stressful to feel sick and then be like go into an office with all these other people. And so in that regard, I didn't have that. But
Okay, that's a useful piece of information.
mm-hmm.
So have you noticed that there have been times where your digestion is particularly worse? And again, independent of a given day, if I eat this or I don't eat that, independent of that, sometimes, like if you said to me, hey, Mark, in the last year, did you notice that there were times when you particularly didn't feel good? Yeah, I would pick out a week or two here or there, or I just felt like crap. And I couldn't give you a reason for it other than this was that time. So have you noticed any of those times where, wow, it's just harder right now?
Yeah. So I used to get really anxious when I would travel because I would have like random foods that I didn't really feel like I had control over. And when I would go visit my parents, sometimes my digestion would get worse. And I don't know if that's because I was eating more like snack foods or if it's like something that somaticized in my body, like remembering like my whole childhood, I didn't feel well. I'm not sure which one of those, but yeah, that is one. Or if I'm eating like, and I you said not really eating, but like, I don't know, having more snack type foods, my digestion is definitely worse.
Okay. So are you married?
Yeah.
How long have you been married for?
Not very long, just since April.
Since April. Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
You got married in the year of COVID.
I did. It was interesting. We were supposed to get married in May and ended up pushing it up, and we only had our parents and like he had one of his 4 siblings and my siblings weren't even able to be there, and I had 2 of my best friends. So we had like 10 people total.
Wow.
So it was nice. It was different.
Mm-hmm. So I find it interesting that, in a time of stress, I'm traveling, and then maybe you find yourself snacking, or you go home to visit your mom and maybe it brings up stuff, or here you are now, you're at home and you're working from home for a little while, and the stress of having a sensitive digestion and going into a workplace that's eliminated, and then all of a sudden, oh, I can relax a little bit more, things get better. That's probably the main thing I would want to be tracking for you. Actually, let me just take a step back for a second. So I'm going to guess that maybe you had digestive challenges before your eating disorder, but you can't exactly remember.
Mm-hmm.
And as you probably know from your own training or your own experience, it is not unusual at all for somebody to go through an eating disorder, anorexia, bulimia, both, and come out of it and have digestive issues. It's extremely common. I've worked with people who've come out of anorexia and or bulimia, and it can take years and years for the body to readjust and readapt. Because let's take anorexia, you really trained your body to not eat.
Yeah.
And now here you are, and you're inhabiting your body in a whole new way and in a whole different way. And your body has to, in a strange way, relearn how to eat. So I'm going to say that, if I could take a snapshot of you and say, you are here, that you're at the part of your journey where you're managing some of the fallout, some of the physiologic fallout of having had an eating disorder. No blame,
Mhm.
that's just part and parcel of it, because to be anorexic, we really have to create a whole different physiologic experience. And we have to create a fasting state that has us high and has us not craving food, and essentially has us not digesting very much and not assimilating a lot. And that takes a lot of work to create that state,
Mm.
strangely enough.
Yeah.
And it takes a certain amount of work to re-inhabit your body. So I truly see you as a person who is, you're kind of coming through, you've kind of come through through the birth canal a second time,
Yeah.
you
Nice.
know? Really, the
Yeah.
first time you actually came through the birth canal and you were born and you were breastfed or bottle fed, and then you slowly became an eater and ate mushy food and ate whatever food you were given, and you learned how to be an eater, and you probably did that fairly well. If you can't remember having digestive issues, there's a chance you might not have had them, but so many people deal with digestive stuff anyway. We eat a lot of strange things when we're kids,
Yeah.
depending on what kind of diet your parents were giving you or the school gave you. Um, but right now in this moment, I'm wanting to share with you just my overarching perspective. Like if you were a long-term client, where I go in my mind is, okay, where are you on your journey? And if I can say that to myself, oh, here's where she's at in her journey, then that puts us in a position, it puts you in a position potentially to really identify, okay, here's where I am. Because it's right now you're doing what you know how to do best, which is just try to patch together different strategies so you feel better. So right now, okay, if I eat this, if I don't eat that, I get this symptom, I don't get that symptom. I stop taking, medication. I don't feel so good. I start taking it again. So right now you're doing your best to manage.
Right.
And that's fine because you have to manage. So I'm saying, great, you have to manage yourself. But there's another track to be on at the same time that you're managing. So on the one hand, you must manage yourself every day so that you
Mhm.
can feel well. But there's another track that's equally important to managing yourself, which is retraining yourself how to be a person who eats, how to be an eater. And you're retraining yourself as an adult how to do that. And so in a strange way, whatever wasn't quite working when you were 13ish, when the eating disorder started, that's your work now. So the eating disorder served a purpose.
Right.
We can say all kind of bad things about eating disorders, but the eating disorder actually serves a purpose. It gave you probably a sense of control. I could control, okay, I can't control my
Yeah.
life. I can't control all these big people around me. I can't control how other people think and feel about me, but I can control my eating. I can control
Right.
my weight. And for a lot of people, not all, but for a lot of people, the anorexic mind is all about gaining some form of symbolic control.
Yeah, I would agree.
And it's a very powerful form of control, because if you could control your ability to need food or not need food, you have in a weird way, in a weird way, we've made ourselves superior to other human beings who need to eat.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So we actually become special. It's a way to be special. Because look, I have this superpower. I don't need to eat, and I'm skinny, and everybody's trying to be skinny, and I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I kind of win here, because particularly the women of the world are given the message: skinny, skinny, thin, thin, fat, bad.
Mm-hmm.
And we absorb those messages as children. You didn't even have to absorb it consciously. We absorb these things unconsciously. So what I'm suggesting to you is that if you look at your eating disorder as having had a brilliant purpose, a brilliant reason rooted in psychology, to me, at the very least, one of the brilliant reasons for it is it gives you control over your life, in a life that's uncertain, that's a little chaotic. And 13, you're going through puberty, and it's one of the most vulnerable times in the life of a human being. Puberty should be an amazing rite of passage for most people in this world. It tends to suck, because we're not given an instruction manual. We're not coached into becoming a different creature. You're going from being a child to a woman who all of a sudden can begin to bear children, and you're developing sexually, and you're developing emotionally at that point. And there's a lot of hormones flying around, and there's a lot of shifting, and there's a lot of changing. Psychologists call that a time of imprint vulnerability, meaning we're very open and susceptible and vulnerable to new ways of thinking at certain junctures in our life. Puberty is one of those times. So, in a strange way, the eating disorder helped you manage uncomfortable emotions.
Yeah, definitely. I would say.
Now, your job as an adult is to get better and better and better, like all of us, get better and better at how you manage uncomfortable or unwanted emotions. Right now, what is happening is your body will probably somaticize a bit, meaning when you're in distress or discomfort or anxiety for any reason, or fear, it's going to hit your digestive system more so than it hits any other place in your body, because your digestive system is already sensitive from having an eating disorder in the past.
Yeah.
So it's just a sensitive part of your system. Some people, their joints are sensitive. Some people, their knees are sensitive. Some people, their heart is sensitive as an organ. Your digestive system is very sensitive, so it will feel a lot of what you feel. And it will take on a lot of the emotions that you're experiencing, and it's gonna try to metabolize them for you.
Why?
Because that's what you've trained yourself to do back in the past. Because back in the past, you used your relationship with food and your digestion as a way. You essentially were able to shut off your digestion, and that gave you a high. You had the anorexic high.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I kind of feel good. I don't need food. I don't have an appetite.
Yeah.
I'm not hungry. I'm cool. Yeah, there's problems associated with it, but there's a certain state that has a positivity to it, that, people who go on fast, a lot of times people who go on a 2-week fast, let's say, where they're eating very little food, the first 3 days are really hard, and by day 4 you can feel high when the digestive system shuts down. So to me, what you're learning how to do is manage uncomfortable emotions, and also learning how to be quote unquote high in other ways.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So what are some of the things you do in life that make you feel good, that just makes your body feel good, other than any kind of food or eating?
Oh my gosh, I would probably just go on walks for a living if I could, or hikes or something. Yeah, I love it. I love being outside. I would always choose to be outside if I could. I've been backpacking. I typically go on a walk like almost every day because there's a lake behind my house. What else makes me feel good? I like stretching and yoga. A lot of it has to do with activity. I'm trying to think. I mean, tea, but I guess you could think of that as food. But I just mean like herbal tea is kind of nourishing. What else?
Yeah,
Music.
well,
I like music.
yes. So to me, I would start to think of those more and more as practices that can also help you when you are feeling digestive discomfort. I would be
Mhm.
interested to see what happens when you're feeling digestive discomfort if you start experimenting with different kind of music and see what happens in those moments. Um, just to give your system a different kind of input. I'm interested in giving your digestive system signals that it is strong and it is capable and it's coming online.
Mm.
So I don't think you have so in my mind, and I really mean this, you might see it differently, but in my mind, there's nothing quote unquote wrong with your digestion.
Right.
What's happening is your digestion is literally rebooting itself. And in that rebooting process, when your computer crashes and it's rebooting, there's all kind of things going on, and the computer's not actually on yet.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's sort of where you're at. Your system is coming back online. And in that process of coming back online, this is what it feels like.
Right. That's interesting because I would say I experience like the debilitating digestive issues less than I did. I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. I was having it every day, all the time, and
Mhm.
it's starting to get better. And I have had a lot of tests, like the gastric emptying and all the different food, like for SIBO and all those things, and they all come back negative. And so,
Yeah.
um,
Which to
you
me
know,
is confirming what I'm saying is that there's actually nothing wrong with you. And
yeah,
you're literally coming back online. So there's no medical terminology for this. I'm speaking in metaphors that you can understand, or that we can agree. Oh yeah, I know what you're saying.
mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm seeing your digestive system literally rebooting, is coming back online, and in a strange way, it's coming back online in a whole new way with you as an adult. It was
Yeah,
as online as it could be up until your eating disorder. So to me, the fact that, yeah, oh, wow, it was more debilitating 5 years ago says to me that you're doing something right. And what you're doing right is your life,
mm,
your inner world, your own personal growth, being in good relationship, advancing yourself in your career, in your studies, in partnership. Um, to me, those are the things that, in a way, ground us. So I'm interested in things that ground you here.
hmm.
What I mean by things that ground you here, grounding, anorexia is the opposite of grounding.
Yeah,
Anorexia takes us out of the body. We are essentially telling the body in anorexia, we're getting out of here, baby.
mm-hmm.
Ultimate, the ultimate end game of anorexia, if one keeps playing it out, is death.
Oh, yeah.
is starvation. People die of anorexia. People will die in a hospital bed weighing 60 pounds.
Mhm.
So that's the ultimate end game of that dis-ease, is leaving the body,
Yeah.
leaving life. So anorexia is the opposite of being in the body. It's the opposite of grounding. So anything in your life that grounds you more will help strengthen your digestive system. So to me, honestly, a good relationship grounds us more.
Yeah.
Work that is meaningful for you can ground you more. A work environment that is comfortable for you can ground you more. Movement or exercise that helps you feel, yeah, I'm Craig and I'm happy to be alive, like getting outside, walking, hiking, that grounds you. Um, a few things come to mind. Any kinds of physical exercise that you can do that literally strengthen your midsection, any kind of core exercise
Hmm.
would be really good, because you're just giving your core, your midsection, the signal of, I'm strengthening you. It's not about
Yeah.
having tighter abs. No, it's just about putting energy into that part of your body and asking it to do some work. Your digestive system works. It is one of the hardest working creatures out there. It's we throw a bunch of food in and expect it to like break it down, assimilate it, send it to the right parts of the body, take what works, excrete what doesn't work. The digestive system works. It's a worker.
Yeah.
Um, so there's a place where it wants to have that sense of earthiness and solidity. So anything that strengthens your core, any kind of yoga that really works the core, just get online, Google like core workouts, or do a core power yoga class online. And just really put energy into your gut in that way, as opposed to, let me try to do more tests and figure out what's wrong in my gut. Or, and yes, you're going to have to manage yourself with food, but ultimately your digestive system can get to the place where, for the most part, you're going to be able to digest a meal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And I've reintroduced so many foods that, like, I don't know, maybe it's at the point where some of them are too much, but like I didn't eat legumes or dairy or like bread and any of that stuff for so long. And now I like eat it very regularly.
great. So what you're doing is you're challenging your digestive system. When you
Yeah.
reintroduce your food, you're giving your digestive system a challenge, and it needs a challenge, because
Hmm.
that's its job. Food is a foreign substance. Food is not you. It's not your body. It's this stuff outside of us that we throw
Yeah.
inside. And somehow the digestive system has to figure it all out. So there's something very powerful in that, something beautiful in that. So again, I would love to see you, breathing exercises would be so good for you. um, it's I, Kundalini yoga has some great breathing exercises. If you Google Kundalini yoga, see if there's some good breathing classes online that you can do. If you've never done like breathing exercises, there's something called the breath of fire.
Yeah. I've done that in the nostril breathing, and then the one where you breathe in for a while, you hold it in, and then you breathe out. That's
Yes,
when I do the most, is the last one.
yes. So I would like to see you do those regularly, but especially a breath of fire where you're really activating your core. So
Yeah.
it's a forced exhalation and a
Uh-huh.
passive inhalation.
Huh.
where you're feeling it in your gut.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're bringing oxygen to your gut when you do that. You're bringing awareness to your gut. You're bringing consciousness to your gut. Right now, what you've been doing is you've been focusing on the food, which is great. And you're going to continue to focus on food because here's the point. Me, you, anybody who's paying attention to their diet will notice there's certain foods that work for me and certain foods that don't. Certain
Right.
amounts of food that work for me, certain amounts don't. So yeah, there's certain foods I stay away from because they just don't work for me. So you're always going to want to know that information, but you avoiding food here and there and trying to, figure out a way around this and manage symptoms, that's one part of your path, but the other part is I'm grounding myself in the world. I'm strengthening my core in ways other than eating. So breathing, yoga,
Mm.
exercise, movement, anything that strengthens your core. Just Google core strengthening activities and exercise and see what catches your attention. That can make such a huge difference. It really, really can. Oxygen will retrain your gut. You know how they say, um, gosh, that we only use like, 5 or 10% of our brain cells. It's that was an old saying for a while. In a strange way, we don't fully use our digestive system because we don't oxygenate it enough.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of the action, oxygen, food plus oxygen equals calorie burn. That's junior
Right.
high school biology. you know Food plus oxygen equals calorie burn. Food plus oxygen equals digestion, equals breakdown. So I'm interested in you increasing the energy in that part of your body. What else grounds you in life when you think of like things that ground you? People, experiences, situations, places.
Yeah. I used to travel a lot, and that I don't know if it grounded me, but I do think it made me a little more introspective and curious. My husband definitely does, and is one of, I don't know, not the only people, but the one of the most consistent people I see who's like, okay, it's almost like I feel my body kind of realizes it's safe if it before was all stressed, like giving a hug or something like that to someone I really trust and love, like my husband, for instance. Um, let's see, places. The only places I can think of are like outside. I don't know. Yeah. Or when it's snowing or something and I'm all like wrapped up in a blanket and watching the snow or watching the rain. I like that.
Mhm. Oh, there's something else to consider,
Mm-hmm.
which is also abdominal massage.
Okay.
That's another way to get into the gut, into the midsection, to give it different input. The just touch, just loving touch. You can have your husband do that. There's incredible. You live in Colorado. I'm just realizing one of the great physical therapists who does abdominal and pelvic floor physical therapy is in Colorado, is in Longmont. And
Oh, cool.
yeah, she's amazing. Um, I'll send you her information.
Okay.
I've sent a number of people to her. She does very powerful work, and she'll just get right into the abdomen and just help create release. A lot of times tension builds up, fascia, scar tissue builds up. Um, and so when you have somebody skilled working in that part
Yeah.
of the body, it can really change things.
Yeah. I think I've had not like a ton, but I've had that done a tiny bit and it feels really good. That is something I didn't mention is massage. I get really, really tight shoulders and back. And so whenever I have that massaged, it's really grounding and I feel calm and present. And so that sounds like a nice suggestion.
Yeah, it's a great practice. And, if you have a loving partner who can, even for 5 minutes a day, before you go to bed, just do a little shoulder massage and do a little abdominal massage.
Yeah.
And you can kind of teach him, okay, this feels good, this doesn't feel good. And you just give feedback and you give instruction. But it's being intentional with your midsection in ways other than manipulating the food on your plate.
Because I think that's gotten so stressful that it's like it doesn't really matter if I'm eliminating something that potentially was causing something. There's so much stress around like, does this do this? Does this do that? And it's getting better, but I think for a long time it was like because I've done like low FODMAP and stuff, and I think I didn't see good results because it was so stressful.
So Craig, that's what I'm saying. That that
Yeah,
is that is why I'm saying, to me, where you're at right now,
yeah,
diet is, you know enough right now to manage yourself.
yeah.
Like, really, you probably know 98 to 99% of what you need to know to just manage yourself on a daily basis, food wise. I don't
Hmm.
think there's going to be any discovery, oh my God, I'm deficient in this or allergic to that, and that's my problem. I bet all my money, no, it's not about that. It's what I mentioned to you, that your digestion is coming back online. You're reincarnating in this life. You're being born again. And this is what it feels like to have your digestion coming back online. It's discomforting.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work right. It's kind of creaky and cranky, and it's huffing and it's puffing. And it's getting better. It's actually, you've been getting better. So you've been on a good trajectory. So what you're doing works. And if I can get into your head, I would push the button that says, relax about trying to figure out the food and the diet piece. I would push that button
Okay.
and make your brain completely relax around food and diet, and begin to just focus you on, like I said, core strengthening in a way that's fun for you. Breathing, yoga, movement, different sports. Some sports are more, core exercise than others. A lot of gyms, even though things are closed now, but a lot of gyms have like core strengthening classes where you just get to inhabit that part of your body in a different way,
Hmm.
give it a different kind of input. And at the same time in your life, understand that your job is to ground yourself. And you're feeling grounded when the noise up here gets a little bit less and you drop into your body.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I do.
When you go from your head and drop into your body, good things happen.
Absolutely. I know I'm trying to teach some of my clients that too. So it's neat to have some other ways like you've suggested I haven't thought of.
Yeah. And you can look at it like, I'm on my healing and growing journey, as opposed to there's something wrong with me, because you've tried everything, you've done all the tests, and the tests have told you there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
And here I am. I'm just saying, I would pitch my tent here very happily, saying that there's nothing wrong with you. Your digestion is just informing you of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So your digestion is informing you. So I could eat something and have a stomach ache, and I can think to myself, oh, I ate something, I have a stomach ache, something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
No, it's my body giving me feedback.
Yeah. That's a good reframe, because for so long I was like, oh yeah, my digestion's bad. Like, I wish that this wasn't happening. Why is something wrong with me, type thing. And it like sends all those messages to your gut brain, and it freaks it out. And it's like,
Yep.
why do you think I'm broken? Like, I don't
Yep.
know. And then it goes into hiding.
And that's stressful.
Yeah.
And your gut is sensitive to stress anyway. So then when
Mhm.
you're giving it the signal, there's something wrong with you, you're broken, I need to fix you. Oh, this didn't work, that didn't work, you're still broken. That's going to be stressful. And that's unnecessary stress for you. So this is the other part of your job, is to really begin to reframe and to really catch yourself when you go to the old way of thinking. The old way of thinking is something is wrong with my digestion, is broken. The new way of thinking is, hey, my digestion was shut down in a very unique and intense way with an eating disorder. And
Yeah.
now I've been bringing it back online for the last many years. And I'm getting better, is getting better and better. And I continue to bring it back online. And life is going to give you the clues and the signals of what else you need to do to bring your digestion back online. So I consider myself one part of your journey where I get to raise my hand and say, hey, here's what I think you can do next to help bring your digestion more online.
Yeah. I like the perspective. This is helpful. Not, again, like not anything that people have suggested before, but I like so much more fun. And why not experiment with all those things and see what happens? And yeah.
And catch yourself when you start to feel sorry for yourself
Yeah.
or think that you're broken, and just give your digestion some love when it's not working great.
Right.
When you're having a bad moment or you're having a bad day, really what it needs is love anyway. Like there's nothing that's going to change that immediately other than you kind of caring for yourself and attending to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think recently, if ever I've had symptoms, I've kind of not gone into this downward spiral. Like I used to kind of go into this downward spiral of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to feel like sick this whole week and I'm trying to have fun on this vacation. Whereas now it's like, okay, it'll pass and it's fine. And it's just, feedback. So that's very helpful.
Yay. Great work, Craig.
Thank you, Mark.
I really appreciate you being so open and so honest and being in this conversation and being willing to do it in a public way. And also I just really respect what you've done on your journey and how far you've come, because if you really look back on your journey, like, wow, you've really elevated yourself and you've really healed yourself and really transformed yourself. And I think it's important to really remember that and try to celebrate that a little bit here and there. And, even in the days when digestion's not feeling great, you've come a long way, based on your good efforts. So congratulations on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. It's been a fun journey.
Well, you feel complete?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Great work. Thank you, people, for tuning in. I so appreciate it. And lots more to come on the Psychology of Eating podcast. Take care, everybody.
Hey friends, we're so happy that you've joined us for another episode of the Psychology of Eating with Marc David. Are you loving these episodes? Then simply subscribe and you'll never miss an episode again. We'd also love it if you'd leave us a comment below so we can hear more about your own journey with food and body. And if you're curious about what we offer at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, including our internationally acclaimed coach certification training that's rooted in dynamic eating psychology and mind-body nutrition, please head on over to our website, psychologyofeating.com. Until next time, take care, and remember, having the body you want starts with loving the body you have.